Hey guys, we have FlyQuest versus Counter Logic Gaming. I actually had FlyQuest really solidly in my top 4 for playoffs, and CLG kind of out of it, but they're only one game apart, and CLG taking this win means that FlyQuest and CLG are actually exactly the same in standings. So, a little bit of context for FlyQuest performance this weekend is there was a lot of tragedy in FlyQuest's team last weekend. Centaurian's grandpa passing away, and there was one more that they didn't make public, so I'm not going to make public, but there were a lot of things that fucked with FlyQuest's practice that I think a lot of fans and the public didn't know about. So I didn't expect FlyQuest to be that strong this weekend, and that's kind of explains why FlyQuest wasn't the strongest, because there were outside factors that fucked with FlyQuest's practice, and they didn't get the normal practice they normally would have. And I'm not trying to make excuses, I'm just trying to give a little bit of context for how FlyQuest practice was. Other than that, let's actually get started with the game. This is a super fucking important match for both FlyQuest and CLG, especially for FlyQuest because they lost to CLG earlier in the season, and if they lose to them again, that 2-0 is really, really hard to overcome for tiebreakers. Jace Yorick ban, Nocturne ban, a Thresh ban. Blue side normally banning out stuff they just don't want to play versus. Ooh, Silas fan. Let's see what they end up first picking. First pick Israel, pretty typical. It could have been an All-Star, it could have been a Galio, but first pick Israel is also very typical of teams. Is that coach really a cop? He is indeed a cop. Cyber Braum, a very normal reply, a very teamfight reply, a very CLG reply. Yeah, Israel All-Star. Like this draft, this is a kind of draft we've seen a lot before. One team picks Israel, the other team takes Cyber. One team takes All-Star, the other team takes Braum, or vice versa, or a Kench. This is the draft we see every day. Oh, I really did not like the ribbon here. So, because I actually got to interview Invert afterwards, and I actually got to talk to him a little bit about this draft, so I'll explain it to you guys. They took ribbon here because Viper wanted ribbon, but the other thing they wanted to do was taking Zoe here and getting Zoe away from CLG and getting a good blind pick here and protecting the Zoe pick if they need be. Zoe is one of the best blindable mid champions right now, and that was actually, I would say, 10 times better than taking the ribbon here, because ribbon has so much counter picks, and taking ribbon this early just isn't that great. I think he probably felt pretty confident playing versus Darshan that he could pick anything, and that's why he drafted the ribbon here, but I would have much rather send the Zoe. Who counters Zoe? No one. What the fuck, Riot? So what counters Zoe is, and also when they take the Sejuani here, they can take any carry top lane that does well versus ribbon and have a really strong 2v2. Zoe gets countered by something like LeBlanc with maybe a really aggressive jungler. That's something that can do well versus Zoe. LeBlanc with a really aggressive jungle. Galio isn't picked. Galio is still picked in EU and Korea, just not first picked. It's because of a little bit of difference in priority for picks. LeBlanc Jarvan. So they banned LeBlanc Jarvan, and they're protecting against the Zoe. They're like making it easy for CLG to take Zoe, and they're banning Renekton and Poppy when they're trying to make the ribbon pick good as possible. And then yeah, they just end up taking the Zoe here, and it becomes really bad for FlyQuest. Oh man, this greedy ribbon pick messed up a lot of things. And then CLG taking Zoe here makes a lot of things good for CLG. Because they can just fifth pick a carry top that goes well with Seju, and that does well versus ribbon. Now they're in a really uncomfortable spot. They gave away Zoe, they gave away a good team fight comp, a very easy comp to play also, and they don't have quite good things to pick into it. They can't even take LeBlanc plus something aggressive because LeBlanc is banned. So it would have to be something like Fizz plus something aggressive. Ori Olaf. Oof, I feel like the Olaf lose streak will continue. Jack, Sliber, Braum, Seju. Oh, feels bad, man. Yeah, I mean, you can see on faces of FlyQuest that they're not very happy with their draft. Especially Lucas, because Lucas knows draft really well, and he knows like when things are wrong. When they watch when they show Lucas' face. Yeah. Kind of iffy. He knows this game's gonna be iffy. He knows like the win condition is winning the top 2v2, but it's really hard versus Seju Jax. Or a team fight, but their team fight setup is really good. I thought Ribbon is a skill matchup versus Jax with Ribbon advantage and Jax have skills. I do think Ribbon wins early and Jax wins later on, but the problem is Seju Jax is really hard to play versus. Sejuani is the best, like barring stuff like Camille, which are near impossible to play, and like, okay, let's take out stuff like Pantheon. But Sejuani in competitive play is one of the best 2v2 junglers topside. Because she works really well with melee champions and the guaranteed stun makes the 2v2 easy peasy. Lucas looks cheesed. Ugh. Do I think Broken Blade is worth the import slot? He's playing for the first time in LCS, so it's hard to say that he's not worth an import slot or if he is worth an import slot. You have to see him develop. You have to see him, what kind of player he turns out to be. So right now, I think it's way too early to say if Broken Blade is or is not worth the import slot. He's showing good enough progress where I can say he might be worth the import slot, and he's not immediately good enough where I'm like, damn, this guy's worth the import slot, nor is he bad enough right now where I say he's not. Let's see a little bit more. Let's see more and more before we really judge. Oh, the Sejuani hide there. So Olaf is on the bot side, and if you can see the amount of wave that Viper has, it's gonna push out towards him. He has to be really careful, and he has to wait for Olaf to come back, or he has to be super careful about this wave pushing out. Even though he's a level up, being aggressive here can be really dangerous, especially when I'm pretty sure Wiggly started bot side. When Wiggly started bot side and it's gonna jungle up, he has to be really careful. Yeah, he started bot side. He doesn't have a blue buff, but he has a red buff, so it means his blue buff ran out. And then coming in, oh, this is so bad. Damn, Wiggly and Darshan actually did such a good job. Do you know what kind of gum pro players chew? They just chew the same kind of gum at, like they chew the exact same gum that you chew. It's nothing special. Damn, that matchup becomes so hard now. So bad here for Centauran. He flashed away, but Pyre Evil picks up his flash and chases him down. Man, this game looks so bad. Jack's ahead, Zoe ahead. Oh, it's such a... Man, Wiggly actually did such a good job here. This game looks like solo queue. This game just looks really frustrating for FlyQuest. Hi Irene. For FlyQuest to win, one of their major win condition is ribbon split push. So when that win condition is gone, now it becomes about team fight. They still have a decent team fight with Ori, Israel, All-Star. And it's going to be very important that the ribbon is flanking in those team fights. That's the godly team fight setups that Cloud9 gets. It's FlyQuest has to get the same one. Their win condition is ribbon flank team fight around an objective that CLG starts. That's what they need to get done. Oh, man, I'm not sure if they're going to get it. And Jack's split push is something that they're not going to be able to deal with. Jack's is just so fucking strong at this point. I don't think Ribbon's ever going to be at a state where she beats the Jax. Ribbon can beat the Jax early, but if you don't beat the Jax early, like later the game goes, the harder and harder it gets for Ribbon. And that's going to be the game state we see. It's really hard for Olaf to come top and flip the lane because they lose the 2v2, right? So he can't really even commit to top and be like, hey, we win the 2v2, so I'll just play around top side. So Lucas just doesn't have very much options this game. Do I like Durian? I like good Durian. Durian is not like something I like that much. So taking the early Herald, using it topside for all these plating, early plating first turret, that's gonna be like a 1k gold swing. Not able to kill the Ribbon again, but forcing Ribbon to burn the flash. Even though they give up Earthstrike, CLG knows the win condition they're playing for is Darshan being ahead and taking first dragon taking first turret like that and getting massive gold onto Darshan means so much for ultimately their win condition of Jack's foot pushing onto the Ribbon. And I'm trying to look. Jax has so much priority there, so I'll kind of explain why this play happened. So Jax has, you can see how much priority Jax has and how freely he can walk around the map, place his wards down, and protect for his own ganks. When FlyQuest is making the play on the other side, and also especially when Olaf showed top side, it makes it very easy for CLG to be confident about collapsing bot side. So one thing that CLG is doing really well is spreading the Jax's lead into other lanes. They're not just I have a lead on Jax and that's the game. They are I have a lead on Jax and we're gonna give it to the other lanes and we're gonna make sure we're ahead and we're winning the game off it. Oof, getting that opening on bio. This mid fight, there isn't going to be much coming off of it because it's not involving Jax. A lot of the big things for CLG is going to involve the Jax, and holy shit, he just fucking took the red buff. Why do different regions value different picks, but at an international event, they play a similar meta? I think you said it exactly. Why? Because if you're in a different region, then you're going to value things differently. And within your own region, you're going to see a certain pick pop up and that pick is going to do well and you're going to experience it firsthand. So you also are going to highly value that pick. And then once you go against teams internationally and you get firsthand experience versus certain picks, then you're going to be like, oh, that's why this pick is good. Oh, that's why they do this. Yeah, and also, yeah, they scrimmed before the actual tournament and developed metas within it. Has NA ever innovated for an international meta? CLG has with their 2v1s when 2v1s were a thing. Now that, oh, holy shit, Zoe got a kill on Ollie. Now that Jax has Sojins, the split push just becomes near impossible for Ribbon. Oh, that item makes champions like Jax so toxic. Jax, Ribbon both benefit so much from the Sojin shit, where they're not supposed to have that much cooldown on their normal abilities, but it allows them to have incredibly low cooldown on their normal abilities, and they make them so sticky as champions because they can jump and stick to the enemy team. The CC coming back, it amplifies damage, it amplifies stickiness, it amplifies CC. That item's just so broken on Jax and Ribbon. It turns them into different champions. It improves so much aspects. That item's not fair. It improves so much aspects. Would you rather Darshan sing at you 4 hours straight or share a bath for Gibbon? What the fuck is that kind of question? And I would pick Darshan singing. Yeah, but in these like split cut push situations, it's so hard for Riven to actually deal with the Jax. She eventually loses the turret. Game just breaks down. Because one thing that Jax can do, if he can approach the turret and start hitting the turret, and if he feels like Riven's going to commit onto him, he can start spinning and then Q backwards. That's the Jax pattern for being able to take turrets on Riven. Approach the turret, start hitting the turret, and then start counter striking and then Q out backwards when Riven comes up. So yeah, that pattern just keeps repeating for Jax, and he's able to take turret. And then now when turret's low enough, yeah, he's just coming onto the turret and killing the Riven. There's just so much strength difference between Jax and the Riven at this point. Do you think Frozen Mallet is a matchup specific item here on Jax? I have no idea. Honestly, I have no idea. I don't play Jax that much. I know as a Jax, your third item is usually Sterix or Tiamat item if you want the Tiamat item. So I don't really know why he got Frozen Mallet, but yeah. I thought Sterix or Tiamat items better. The Void technology. And then now the game ending. Damn. As well as Darshan played, I think this game was on FlyQuest and V1per, and some of the decisions they made through draft and some of the decisions they made in game. Draft played a big part, but also in-game play was just as problematic. Damn. That's such a feel-good win for CLG. Now they have the 2-0 on FlyQuest. If they meet again, then they're gonna, or if they do have a tie, then they just automatically win the tiebreaker. It's such a good situation to be in for CLG.